I went on the most epic Africa weekend trip. I went to 3 countries in 3 days, saw Victoria Falls, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and spent the night with lions in Chobe National Park, one of Africa's best safaris. I have a video of that if you want to see what it was like, but in this video, I'm going to cover everything you need to know about visas and border crossings if you want to go on a similar epic trip. It's pretty tricky and confusing, so listen closely. I'll cover who needs a visa, how the whole process works, my recommendations, and then lastly, some important key things to know. Note that I'll explain how everything works specifically if you fly into Victoria Falls Airport in Zimbabwe. We visited both the Zim side and the Zambia side of Victoria Falls and spent the night on our safari trip in Chobe National Park in Botswana. This is the specific itinerary we had, and I highly recommend it, but I'll discuss how things will differ if you want to modify it. So here's everything you need to know about the Zimbabwe visas and border crossings. Keep in mind, I went through this experience as a US passport holder, but I'll cover some of the differences if you're from other countries. I'll include useful links in the description as well, so you can reference the full information if your situation differs or if things change after this video is posted. Okay, first of all, who needs a visa? There are 3 categories, A, B, and C, that your country falls in. You can see those on screen now. Category A countries do not need a visa. Countries in Category B can get visas upon entry after paying the fee, and C must be obtained before traveling, which can be done online. The US being a Category B country, we just got ours upon entry. So I won't speak to the online process, but if you have the time, I definitely recommend getting it handled online and saving the stress at the border. They say you should apply online at least 3 weeks before. We decided on this trip from Cape Town, I think the week before, so this wasn't really an option for us. Note that this is all for a tourist visa into Zimbabwe specifically. Zambia and Botswana didn't require an extra fee or additional process for US passports, but double check if that's the case for you as well. If you're from a country that needs a visa, I'm going to explain how it works as quickly and clearly as I can. Here's how it works. When you arrive, you have a choice between 4 visa types. 1, a single entry visa, which simply gets you into the country. This costs $30, with an asterisk, which I'll cover in a second. A double entry visa, which permits 2 entries within 3 months of issue date. This is $45. 3, a multiple entry visa, which permits unlimited entries within 6 months of the issue date. This costs $55. The official eVisa website states that this option is only available for those in the UK, the USA, and Canada. However, it does note online that to get this visa, it must be supported by a letter. I looked and I couldn't find any solid information from any official government website of what exactly this letter entails, but from what I could find, it should be 1 page and include things like identifying information, passport number, why you need multiple entries, your travel plans, and a few other things. And lastly, the Kaza visa, which is a special visa that allows multiple entries between Zimbabwe and Zambia for 1 month. This costs $50. This visa also allows you to go to Botswana and back too. However, it only works if you go to Botswana and come back to Zimbabwe on the same day. If you're spending the night in Botswana, like we did, your Kaza visa is not valid to re-enter. We didn't understand this at the time, and were surprised at the border coming back from Botswana. So those are the 4 options for visas. One thing to note is that if you're traveling with a passport from the UK, Canada, or China, don't ask me why, but your visas will be more expensive. UK is $55 for single and $70 for double. China is $60 for single and $90 for double. And unfortunately for you Canadians, any Canadian visa, it's $75 for either single or a double. Okay, now that we have the facts, here's what I recommend. And before we get into this, let me add a disclaimer that I'm not an expert. I've done this 1 time, and I'm just compiling all this information based on my experience and what I found in my research to try to help you out. This information may change in the future, so feel free to validate. I'll link to all my sources down in the description. And lastly, I've heard that the process can be very inconsistent and very much depend on the agent that you get. And having done it, I believe it. The whole process felt very, I'll say, informal. So just be prepared. Remember that you're traveling and things work differently than you might be used to at home. Okay, so here's what I recommend doing. First, as I mentioned, whatever visa you decide to get, I recommend applying for it online before you go. That'll make things much easier. Now, if you want to save money and you're going to Botswana overnight like we did, you can try for the multiple entry visa if you're eligible. That'll get you taken care of for $55 all in. Based on the documents I read, they didn't distinguish between UK, Canada, and China for the multi-visa, but I would double check that. It just said $55 for all multiple entries. Also, remember that you have to provide a letter, but I'll make that super easy. I created a template letter that you can use totally free. Just click the link in the description or scan this QR code or go to the link on screen now. As I said, I couldn't find much information or anecdotal experience online, but that's going to be the cheapest option if it works out. Worst case, you just default to the next option. If you don't want to try for the multi-visa or you're not eligible, then your best bet will be the Casa visa for $50. You'll have full access to both sides of Victoria Falls, as well as single-day trips to Botswana. And also, pro tip for Chinese, British, or Canadian travelers, the Casa visa is going to be your cheapest visa option, even cheaper than a single entry visa. So this is your best bet regardless of your itinerary. However, I read that sometimes they're hesitant to give you a Casa visa, and I'm sure that if you don't say you're going to Zambia, they probably won't want to give it to you at all. I also heard rumors that if you don't actually go to Zambia, they can stop you on your way out of Zimbabwe and make you pay again. So just beware. If you're not from the UK, Canada, or China, and you want to go to Zambia, I would still probably recommend just getting the Casa visa instead of going for the double entry visa for $45. It's only $5 more, and then you don't have to worry about it. You can always go back to Zambia if you need to for whatever reason. Then, if you stay the night in Botswana, then you'll just have to pay the single entry visa on the way back like we did. And then lastly, if you're fine with skipping the Zambia side of the falls and just doing Zimbabwe and Botswana, you should just go with the double entry visa. Then you're at $45 all in on visas. And one last thing, I also read that you can actually even get a bridge pass at the Victoria Falls border when leaving Zimbabwe, which allows you to walk on the bridge in between Zimbabwe and Zambia without technically exiting Zim. Then you can watch people bungee jump or take photos or whatever else, and then you can come back into Zim without using an entry visa. Basically, it's a pass that says you're not actually leaving and you're just coming right back. But obviously, if you take this pass, you won't be able to enter Zambia. Okay. Whew, I know that was a ton of information, but I hope it made sense and that it was helpful. Okay, now before you get on with your day and apply for your visa, here's a couple quick tips that you should know. First, bring cash in US dollars. That's the currency that's used there, and they want bills in good condition and apparently newer than 2007. Secondly, bring plenty of cash, just in case. You don't want to be left without it. Next, make sure you bring smaller bills to avoid any hassle with needing to ask for change. Also, visas take up an entire passport page, so make sure you have plenty of blank pages. You will get denied if there's no space in your passport. And if there's even one stamp on a page, they won't put a visa there. So make sure they're fully empty. Plus, you'll be crossing a lot of borders and getting a lot of stamps, so keep this in mind. Also, one more very important thing. If you've been to a country that has risk of yellow fever, they will check to make sure you're vaccinated before entering Botswana. So make sure you have your yellow fever vaccination card, or at least a photo. Ooh, and that's all I have. I hope it was helpful. If it was, a simple click of the like button and the subscribe button lets me know. If you have any feedback or I missed something, please leave a comment. Thanks for watching.